So let's then talk about the media as, how should I put it, an accidental educator. I think what you described was an essentially accidental educator.
Yes, I think we were an accidental educator. It was very much demand driven. People wanted to know these things, so therefore we gave it to them. That was also our niche into the market. But I think one other reason why perhaps education has not got the kind of coverage that perhaps health has got is that education by and large has always been public. And it hasn't really involved, as you mentioned, hasn't involved large sums of money or investments or companies producing things, except for a few books here and there, which have usually come from outside, especially in the case of Africa. So there's never been anything really ongoing. The question has always been, how much of the budget do you allocate to education? How much do you allocate to other things? Now with the increase of private education in Africa, and it's going up by the day, now we see a great deal more of debate, public debate about private education, the cost of private education, whether public education will suffer as a result, and so on. So now we're beginning to see for the first time a real debate and discussion going on about the provision of education.
What about US News and World Report as an educator? I mean, leaving out the whole aspect of education that you cover for other reasons, what about as an educator about specific issues? Let's say we have the case of Malala. Suddenly, surely you have to explain to people how it is that there are girls who are deprived of education. So there is an educative role there, isn't there?
Well, yes, there are two parts to that, John, and some of it is if you look at U.S. not to dwell on U.S. News, but it's an interesting case study. You know, we were a traditional news magazine founded in the 1930s. We have really remade ourselves as a digital publication. We probably have 6 times the audience we did. We have about 15 million people a month coming to our website. But they don't come for a package like a magazine. They come for all different kinds of things. So they might want to read about Malala. Our news editors will be making real-time judgments about how interesting that story is. In the old days, it was top-down. I'm the editor. I would say, that's an important story. Put that on the cover. I can't do that anymore. They're looking at it on a minute, minute-by-minute basis. They're saying...
Your output is being edited by your consumers.
I am at the bottom of the food chain now. It's frightening. I mean, you know, I used to be a gatekeeper, and I'm not. And damn it, it's not... But it is what it is. I'm living in that world. But it is completely reversed, just to take us as an example. So it is a bottom-up. It's, you know, they'll put up that story, and how many people are looking at that? Do they want more information on that story? It's the audience demanding that. That's what you're really seeing. The other piece that we do is the more consumer information, where we're actually going out there saying, we're going to help you find a job. We're going to give you tools to find a college or a hospital. That's a very different way of looking at journalism. We had a thing that it was a tradition in the magazine called News You Can Use. It was a section of the magazine, and it always made me think, geez, if we have a News You Can Use section, what's all the rest of the magazine? You know, the news you can't use. But it really does give you a delineation that the people are going to get what they want in this marketplace, because that's the way the internet works.
Are you still the gatekeeper, or are your viewers telling you what you should be doing?
Both are true, because of the market and the environment that is changing all the time. Forces us to change our strategies. And of course, the main strategy now for the media, the biggest, is the new media, of course. And using the new media for delivering content and also for getting feedback from the viewers, I think that we are recovering some kind of role of educator, because we can have a direct relationships with the viewers. In general, with the classic TV, you are sitting in front of the screen, you change with the remote control, and the relation stops there. Now I think that despite of the content, you can have produce a good or bad content, but you can have a real educational relationship with the viewers, also if it's not the main aim, but in fact, this is the reality.
But what you have both described is effectively the democratization of the mass media. And that is an amazing moment, because it means that everybody in this circus here, for example, really has a chance to influence what is in the media. The capacity to contribute material, for example, has vastly increased because of the ease of sending it in and the rest of it. But so too has the capacity to affect demand for subjects. I mean, you know, somebody with a good membership of an NGO can whistle around their membership and say, get some emails into, get some tweets into whoever, and see if you can get them to do something on this subject. And invariably, I think you tend to if you get enough of them.
Well, I also think, you know, not only get them, the media to do something. People come to me and say, gee, why don't you write something about my organization? And I say, your organization is a publisher. Why don't you publish your own story? I mean, everybody in this room who has, you know, a connection to an institution could do the story that they want me to do, and as long as they could find a way to get it picked up, it would have as much impact and value in many cases. Everybody's a publisher today. So, you know, that, as you say, John, that works both ways. There's a point I want to make later about the downside, but it is an opportunity.
Okay, well, let's keep with the upside for the moment. But there's a point here, yes. And then we have a point over here.
Hello, I'm Catherine Adams from the United States. And the point you were making about the media being explainers or educators, and explainers versus educators, I think when we talk about the new media, you really are shifting now to educators, that with interactive material and material where it links you to supporting articles. So you read one article, it leads you to a background story, leads you to a social interest story related to the same topic. You really are educators. So I'm wondering if you might comment on that and how it changes your responsibilities as journalists now that that is your changing role and the changing way that we consume media.
It's a very good question because, of course, it coincides with the reality that all of us have been paring down our staff and the rest of it. Do we actually have the expertise to be an educator?
I think we have, not because I think that the journalists are the best people in the world, but because the basics, the fundamental values of journalists and educators are the same. You have to know your subject, of course. You have to be credible, you have to be trustworthy, you have to be serious, and you have to understand first and explain then. So I think that it's not a matter of reconsidering our job, it's a matter of reconsidering our skills. I think that there is a new category of illiteracy in journalism because of the new tools. So I think that it's a wonderful opportunity also for journalists to learn things, because with the social media we are in touch with the reality all the time. Okay, then we can discuss how it's possible to verify or not. So, but let's speak in general. For us, it's an opportunity to learn things from people. So the roles are also a little bit opposite now. I think that it's a very interesting phase for the journalism.
I just wanted to add something. I am sometimes a little bit worried that we are going so far with this interactive media, etc. We might be losing things which are extremely valuable and which might disappear completely off. I mean, BBC, for example, BBC Two, and even BBC One. When I came from Kenya, I was glued onto that screen because it explained so many things in such a fantastic detail. That the natural history series, for example, they were brilliant. There is no one now who can reproduce those kinds of programs. And I think if we lose that, and they all started off to try and explain the natural world, and then they've gone on, and now we can go right up to the moon and Mars and back, and go right down to the little ants and their lives. You know, and it's just fantastic, and you learn things in such an entertaining manner. And I'm afraid that if we're driven entirely by what the public now wants, and we lose this kind of ability to produce this kind of programs, then we will also lose a huge way of learning.
Well, I argue that we can do both, but we will deliver it in a different way. You say that there's nobody who can do this, but you see there are channels now that have grown up, which were not there when you were coming back from Kenya. National Geographic, they've got loads of money they spend on incredible natural history stuff, etc., etc., etc. It seems to me that we now have an opportunity that humankind has not had ever before. It's on a fantastic scale. The only slight problem is that we conventional media may go bust before we have found a method of earning money to stay in business to deliver what this vast new opportunity has for us.